Hey, we've got a great opportunity for you. It's my privilege today to introduce our distinguished guests of honor, a group of World War II veterans who served on land, air, and sea. Pretty amazing group. You might have heard about this morning's session. So if you did, it's going to be great. The museum's mission is to tell the story of the American experience in the war that changed the world, why it's fought, how it's won, what it means today. And importantly, though, the why is so that all generations will understand the price of freedom and be inspired by what they learn. And so to learn and be inspired today is what I think this is all about. Now, 40 years ago, I was super fortunate as a young lieutenant. Got to spend 10 days with veterans from Bastogne, walk the ground with them, and then go to Air Court, and then into battlefields in Germany. And here was an incredible opportunity to learn that was formative, that I still remember, but more importantly, to be inspired by what that generation was able to do. So now joining me on stage today is Joey Balfour. Joey, wait. Joey's our Assistant Director of Oral History, and he spent hours with many of these veterans. And these oral testimonies really are one of the centerpieces of the museum's amazing collection. Now, I think it's important that we introduce these veterans early in the trip so you have an idea of who's with us. And so that you can go, God, I want to talk to him. I really want to find that out. And as opposed to, I wonder who those guys were. Here's this incredible opportunity. So if we're going to introduce them today, I think you'll find they're amazing, but you'll also be inspired by what you see with this. So now, two of the veterans that we had planned, unfortunately, could not be with us today. One's Paul Hilliard. Many of you know Paul. Super amazing. He would have been our token Marine, but he was the radio operator and rear gunner in the Dauntless. About 60 missions in the Philippines. So a pretty incredible record. We're sad he's not with us. And then also, unfortunately, Bob Faraschetti had some medical issues last night, and so is not able to join us as well. Bob was part of our Navy contingent, had been a radio man on the USS El Dorado, which was an assault command ship off of Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and then in the Philippines at the end of the war. So, prayers for both of them. We'll miss them, but they're with us in spirit as we continue mission here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down the line. I've got, a question for the veterans to consider, and, a question that kind of introduces them to the audience here. And so we're going to start, though, with Edward Tresh. So Edward's a merchant mariner, able-bodied seaman. He joined the Merchant Marine in 1944 at the ripe old age of 16 and served till 1947. And earlier today, he was the last to go, but today he gets to go first. So, we're going to start with you, Edward. The big question of the sky is, hey, can you tell us about your service? And, what did you do during the war?
Be afraid.
Okay, there you go. Well, thank you, Edward. All right. Anything else you want to add? Maybe add about, your dad was in the Navy in World War I in destroyer.
My father was a destroyer seaman on a four-stacker. They used to call it a tin can sailor. That's what he was called, a tin can sailor. A four-stacker destroyer, coal boiler. And that's all I know about it. But I used to listen to his stories.
Why did you want to join the Navy?
Well, it was patriotism and girls. I found out that at the age, about 15, 16 years old at that time, that the girls weren't too accepted without a uniform. So I told my father and my mother, I said, I'm going to quit high school, which was a big mistake. But I said, I want to join the Navy. And my father was a little concerned. My mother was more concerned than my father because he was, like I say, he helped rescue sailors during World War One. And my father knew what was happening to the merchant ships, and he thought I was going into the Navy. Well, I thought I was going into the Navy also, but when I got to the recruiting officer, my mother had to come with me, of course, because I was too young to join. And then when I walked into the recruiting office in the Custom House in New Orleans, the first thing the guy behind the desk says to me, "What do you want, boy?" I said, "Oh, I'm in trouble now." So anyway, I said, "I want to join the Navy." He said, "Well, how old are you?" I said, "I'm 18. My mother didn't want me to go. She says, "No, he's not. He's only 16. And then the guy looks at me and said, "Well, we really can't use you. You're not strong enough or big enough or old enough. But go next door to the Merchant Marines. They'll take anybody." Well, they did. 2 days later, I was trained on the St. Petersburg, Florida, to be trained at a maritime training station down there by the Coast Guard, which is an experience in itself. But that's how it all started with me. I experienced sailing on a ship called the Joseph Conrad. I guess some of you people know who Joseph Conrad is, but that was a three-master steel hull ship, and it was in a movie called The Black Swan with Errol Flynn. Those were the days when you had to go to a theater to see something moving. You know, I mean, it was pretty ancient. Anyway, I got sailed on that. Not sailed because we didn't leave the dock. But that was my first experience with a storm, because a little tropical storm came through St. Petersburg, Florida at the time, and we had to abandon ship. That's a bad word. Evacuate. So when they said we have to evacuate, I was the first one by the gangway to get up there and try to get off. And the guy at the top of the ship, that he says, "Here, look, take this line." For those who don't know what the line is, a rope. He said, "You run it over there to the flagpole and then take it over to the administration building so we can get everybody off of the ship." That's my first experience with a storm at sea. But I'm running out of words, really am.
So during the war,
I'm forgetting.
Well, here, so in the war, I know you had a bauxite shipment, Venezuelan in the Caribbean, and then you're also in the Pacific. Can you tell us about the missions you were on?
Well, it wasn't like the Army and Navy and Marine Corps. I guess we were truckers in the sea. We were bringing the equipment over there and the ammunition and that type of thing. And when I got on board one of the Liberties, it was new at that time, I was assigned to a postal for three people, three seamen, two able-bodied seamen and an ordinary seaman were in a postal. So that's my quarters. And here we go again. I'm forgetting, like they said before, another Biden moment. I'll try.
So you were hauling bauxite and lampblack.
Well, yeah, that was the first trip. These Liberty ships are all beautiful at that time. They were brand new, you know. So I'm looking forward to, first of all, after I was in the Coast Guard, they shipped me to Mobile, Alabama. And that's where I was going to pick up. I was going on a ship, what they call a pierhead jump. There was a ship in the harbor waiting to sail with our full crew. So there were two young men from the maritime training station that had to go, myself and another young man the same age. And he was in the engine room and I was in the deck. So when we walked up to the gangplank, that's how you get aboard. That's what they call stoops or steps now, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, the first mate is standing at the foot of the gangplank with his clipboard and his pen. And we're in full uniform, by the way. The Navy, the Coast Guard had given us all uniforms. And I go up to him, and the guy asks us who we were. And the captain is up on the praying bridge. And the captain yells down to the first mate, he says, "Tell those swabbies where they're going to stay tonight," or where their quarters are, rather. He said, "Well, Captain, these are not gunmen. The full gunner crew's on board already. This is the rest of our crew." He said, "Okay." And he walks away and he turns around and says, "We done lost the effing war." And you know how good that made me feel. So there's a lot of these stories I could tell you, but I don't know. There's only a few that stick in my mind. So what else you want to know?
So, ladies and gentlemen, Edward Tresh. So next up is Tech Sergeant Chuck Richardson, U.S. Army Air Forces. Here he is. And served in the European Theater in the 8th Air Force, 571st Bomb Squadron, 390th Bomb Group in East Anglia on a B-17 crew, and was over the D-Day beaches, but also did the shuttle run to the Soviet Union in his missions. So, Chuck, how about you? Can you tell us a bit about your experiences in the war and what sticks out most to you?
Our act to follow is next door here, but I'll try. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City of the South. Grew up there and graduated from high school, and pretty soon afterwards was called up and sent to service in South Carolina, and they questioned me about what things I did, and I told them I'd done a little bit of flying, so they sent me off to a radio school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 30 below zero. And the train stopped, and when the engine left, the heat left. So I went to radio school for 22 weeks and learned how to shoot a 50 caliber machine gun, and did all of the things that they wanted me to do. And when I graduated, the examination was that they brought in took you in a dark room, no light, and brought in a box of radio parts, all scrambled up in the box, said, "Build us a radio." and that's it. If it played when you got through, you graduated. That I went from there to any number of training places, but ended up in England flying B-17 over Germany and France. And one of the missions that I had that stands out is a trip to Russia, to the Ukraine, right where they're fighting today, and was there for 8 days. The Germans followed us, all our group, all the way over there. The next night they came and destroyed 93 B-17s on the ground. We didn't. Anyway, none of the men were hurt because the Russians had dug a hole in the ground, covered it over with trees, and that's where we slept. And that's where we were when the Germans came and bombed. But I went from there to Italy and flew a mission out of there, and from there back. I flew a mission over France and back to England. One experience that I had to be interested to you is several times I was on the crew that bombed the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz plants. Guess where I went to work when I got out of the service? I was parts manager for those German cars, and I spent 35 years with them afterwards. I was married and had two children. Didn't talk about it. My experiences in the war. Till my son and my daughter finally corralled me and said, we need to know what you did so we can pass it along to our children. So I started writing and wrote a book about it, and it's on the market today. 35 missions to hell and back. Doing quite well. So if you get a chance, read about some of the adventures I had. The worst mission that I had was at Munich, Germany. We were just before the target, and the anti-aircraft guns found our plane. The number 3 engine, which is the first engine on the right-hand side of the plane, was completely blown away. And all the gasoline in the B-17 is hauled in the wings, the tanks in the wings. And that gasoline started pouring out through that hole and caught fire, and we were at 28,000 feet. We couldn't put the fire out. So the pilot decided to dive the plane to try to blow the flames out. So he went in and dived from 28,000 to 500 feet. The flames went out. We were only just a few miles from Switzerland. And so the pilot called the command pilot of the group and said, we'd like permission to land this plane in Switzerland. And the command pilot said, no, absolutely not. Bring that plane on. Well, the pilot said, men, we're in dire straits. We're 600 miles from home. We got very little gas. We don't even know how much we got, but we're going to try to make it. So throw out everything that you can. And we dropped the ball turret, which hangs beneath the B-17. I threw out all my radio equipment except one. And all the guns, all the ammunition, anything that would come loose. And we started for England. Every little railroad station you come to, there would be a German guard run out and shoot at us with a machine gun, and the bullets would come up through the floorboard from the front of the ship to the back, and we started a new kind of dance. We lost the second engine almost immediately. In 200 miles, we lost the third engine. That left us with one engine. The left engine on the left side. And the pilot had to fly with the right side up above the level of the plane. He said otherwise we would fall out of the sky. So we creeped back towards home, and just as we got to the English Channel, the big guns on the coast started shooting at us, 16-inch naval guns. And they shot at us all the way across the channel. We came to the White Cliffs of Dover and had no idea we were going to get over it. But when you tried to put the wheels down, they wouldn't go down. So I jumped into Bombay, where there was a crank, and started cranking. And myself and one other guy cranked the wheels down, and we were flying at less than 100 feet when we got to England. And when we got there, the pilot miraculously pulled up over the cliffs of Dover, and we landed just feet from the edge of it. And the man from Boeing looked at the plane later and said it was impossible for that plane to fly. We had over 600 holes in that plane. And they sent the plane to the B-17 graveyard. We had one man shot in the stomach, and we didn't think he was going to make it. We wanted to drop him out and let the German doctors help him, but command pilot said bring him home. So he lived to fly again. Thank you very much.
So next, Corporal Kenneth Marr. Kenneth was in the European theater, came ashore at Normandy about 2 weeks after D-Day, and was a replacement in the 1st Battalion, 23rd Infantry, 2nd Infantry Division. As such, fought with them through Brest, through the Battle of the Bulge, and then was captured in January 1945 and was a prisoner of war. So, Kenneth, over to you. Can you tell us a bit about what you recall from your experiences in Europe?
Looking back, I was my mother tried to get me out of the war. I was born in China, so she managed to get the paper for me to come to the United States. So I thought I got out of the war. But after I get in this country, on my second year of high school, I get drafted in the Army. After 17 weeks training in St. Louis Fistful, they sent me straight across the Atlantic to England. From England, they shipped me across the channel to Omaha Beach. My first action was liberation of press, and almost get killed by the mortar if I didn't pick a foxhole. But after that, after the liberation of press, they sent me to the Siegfried Line. At that time, the winter's coming in and getting cold. The weather is getting cold, real cold. And the front was real quiet. We thought the German gonna quit. Then we were going home pretty soon. But this wasn't happening. And at the meantime, I caught a cold from the temperature. The medic says, "Oh, we better send you back to the hospital." So they did. They sent me to, first you have to go through the field hospital, and then if things get any worse, then the general hospital in Bavaria, Belgium. And I was really lucky. The field hospital was in Normandy. You probably heard about Normandy massacre. I left Normandy 2 days. Colonel Piper overrun Normandy and set up whole column of American soldiers there. Anyway, after I got to Bavaria, had a check in the hospital for about 2 days, and they said, "You feel good? You still feel good now?" And we send you to replacement depot. No, I was in replacement depot no more than 2 days. They said, "You come, they want you back." So to put us in the truck, we headed back up in the front. And you never have so many people as griping. Nobody want to go. Especially when it's snowing and freezing cold. But nevertheless, we went back up there, and the captain says, "We're going to go in to attack, chase the German back." So that's what we did. We thought they give us a good breakfast. We start the artillery and attacking the German. But we liberate 2 villages. But the third village is we have to rouse the German out of the forest. That's what the captain says. So we got a tank to support you guys. So that's what we did. So we're attacking the forest, and no sooner we get up there, the Germans just disappear. They had a real nice bunker built right there at the edge of the forest. So went into the bunker where it's still warm. I was with another buddy, and we both were cold and wet. You know how it is when you are cold and wet, never gonna sleep. We sat down, let's just drop off. Not until in the morning, the German make a counterattack. The people next to us, next to our bunker, and woke us up. He said, "You guys, get out of there. German are coming back." Immediately, I jump into the next foxhole. One guy already laying dead. And meantime, machine gun, mortar, all over. I look around. What happened to the rest of the company? Only 4 of us live here. We've been deserted. All of a sudden, there were 4 German had a gun put right at us. We had no choice. That's when I was captured. And that was real funny. After we get captured, the German escort us out of the forest. There was a highway running next to the forest, outside the wooded area, and I thought gee, that looks like an American half-track. But it wasn't. It was a capture by the German. The American half-track was captured by the German. And pretty soon, a German stick his head out the driver seat. You know what he said? She said, "Ho, ho, ho, all the gangs are here." Oh, geez, this guy speaks perfect English. I don't know how he learned that song. Well, anyhow, after that, they walk us 4 days with blowing snow back almost to the right next to the Rhine. Well, we eventually crossed the Rhine, and then they located us in some sort of farmhouse, a big farmhouse, because they caught so many Americans, they caught so many persons, they just run out of space. They just put us in this farmhouse. We were kept there for about almost 3 weeks. The sanitation is so bad, and it's so cold, and people dying off every day. And then they had some kind of disease, they call it diphtheria, and more people die. And then finally, the German kind of get scared because the convention, they supposed to take care of the prisoner. So they decided to move us away from that farmhouse. Nevertheless, we almost get killed by our own Air Force. They put us in the troop train and some kind of boxcar, and we were on the boxcar going south to Frankfurt. Pretty soon we hear a P-47 coming over. They start opening up. They thought it was a troop train, and I think that the German had not sense. They let us out. So we start waving at the P-47, and they finally left. But nevertheless, few people got shot up. And finally, we got to Limburg, north side of Frankfurt. And we were there about no more than 2 months. And we heard the artillery coming closer and closer. And we know the Americans are coming. So one day, early in the morning, the guard opened up the gate and let us out of this prison camp, the first war camp, and start walking. We don't know where we're going. And we stop in this town. It's still in West German. And all of a sudden, the guard just disappeared. And just let us alone. So we were in this little city, and we were hungry and dirty. You know, imagine wearing a chef uniform for 3 months. No bath, no brush to teeth. I had diarrhea and just hopping around. And gee, I better somehow get myself cleaned up. I saw this house. Maybe somebody's in this house. So I knocked on the door. Sure was. A German woman showed up. I asked for ice water. And she thought me picked up hot water. So I cleaned up. And finally, we had a commotion out there in the street there. And look out there, and there sure was American tanks coming through. So that's how I get liberated. Right. Gee. It was scary.
So, Dr. John Chapinski was a fire direction specialist as a sergeant, came ashore at Utah Beach in late June, supported 8th Corps initially. And by my count, his 4 Deuce Mortar Battalion supported 23 divisions in the European theater over 5 campaigns. So, John, how about your experience on those campaigns?
Well, after we had done smelling the apple blossoms in the orchard where we landed, we were ordered to go south to Avalanches, which was on a highway that went east and west, and it had been raining there somewhat, and we were ordered to go west and clear out a couple of submarine pens that the Air Corps and napalm and heavy bombing could not destroy. And there, a couple of our men looked at the situation, and they hunted and found the exhaust system for the air conditioning that they had in this massive place. And they fed white phosphorus smoke into that area, and they were able to force the German commander out, and they surrendered. In the meantime, he had verbally promised Hitler that they would never surrender. So that took place, and then on the way out to the end of peninsula, there was another submarine pin out there that was taken care of that way. And in the meantime, any small German village or any that needed to be taken care of was taken care of by our battalion and some other battalions from the 86th Chemical Mortar Battalion. We got back to Avaranches, and Avaranches was a splitting point where the road going east was the road in which General Patton's tanks were lined up, ready to go east when they got the order. And they finally got the order, and they broke through, and they continued to go until they were running out of gas and supplies, and they were ordered not to go any further. Patton wanted to go to Berlin and get clear up the whole situation, but he was ordered to stop there. So that and then it had been raining there, and the areas where German had been fighting and so forth, I can remember that we run into dead, deceased German soldiers and bloated cows and things like that. And that was really some of our first experiences with the horrors of war. So Patton stayed there until the supplies were brought to them. In the meantime, our outfits were ordered to go to central Germany, and we were attached to several smaller towns and so forth. And then, of course, the German breakthrough at the it was on the tip of my tongue a little bit ago. They broke through the American defenses.
So you're thinking about Bastogne at the Battle of the Bulge?
Come on, help me. Give me the name of that place.
At the Bastogne?
Pardon?
Bastogne.
No, the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge. They broke through there at the Battle of the Bulge, and they were headed east. There was one place in the northern part of the Battle of the Bulge where the 79th Division was located, and we were supporting them there at that time. And with the rain and the mist, the white phosphorus and the high explosives, the Germans were so mixed up on that upper northern part that they were never able to break through the Battle of the Bulge in that area. After the Battle of the Bulge, we went on to other areas, and we had to support the Schmidt was in Hurtgen force, and we had to support other areas that were protecting the large plains where the large lakes were in Germany, and they were afraid that if the Germans got a hold of those towns, that they would flood the area and kill a lot of them, soldiers, and destroy tremendous amounts of equipment. So we were able to maintain peace there, and so that was basically the stories that we had. And then later we were attached to different battalions, and we were with the 1st Division when they first crossed the Rhine River, and so we were with them at this time. The other time we were at the area where the large bridge that collapsed with the American soldiers on top of it. We crossed that river on pontoon bridges the day before it collapsed, and then the Germans and artillery and air corps they would attack the Americans there, and the artillery and all of the lights from the anti-aircraft. It was almost lit up for like nothing. So, and also we were with the 69th Division when they first met the Russians. So we had some really exciting times, and as we traveled west, Patton's armies were able to clear a good part of German towns and so forth, and so we ended up near Czechoslovakia. When the war ended, we were sent to Czechoslovakia, where we guarded the German soldiers there, and then we, after 2 weeks or so, we were ordered to go across France back to the Atlantic Ocean and go back home to our bases, because we were going to be, our battalion was selected to be on the main landing force when they attacked Japan. However, on our way back to camp after our 30-day leave there, the war ended. Japan surrendered and the war ended, and that ended an awful lot of our experiences. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Private First Class Albert Carr, the U.S. Army European Theater, the 115th Infantry Regiment, 29th Infantry Division. Even though he's from Texas, he was with the Maryland and Virginia Guard Unit. Landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day as a rifleman, and then within a month became the squad's Browning automatic rifleman. Wounded several times in that campaign. I think because of those wounds, wasn't in the line for the balls, but then came back into the line for the remainder of the war, and then on occupation duty. So, Albert, tell us a little bit about your experiences in the European theater.
Excuse me. On D-Day, the 6th of June, 1944, we arrived there at Normandy. I was still aboard the ship when the war broke out against the beaches themselves. But on the beach there, and later in the day, they weren't getting our people off the beach to re-secure any of the land. My platoon leader, I was with me on our ship, went in to the beach to help the troops get moved off, because all of our officers just about were still on the ships. Just the leaders who were right with the assault group was on the ones there, and they were thinned out pretty good, real quick. He got back on the ship, and later we got off the ship and started to advance inland, rejoined our company in a short distance. But one of the problems we had just inside of it, Normandy, they had flooded a large area there as an obstacle course, and we were able to cross that with some of the people that we had build us some footbridges for us so we could walk across because we couldn't swim that far. The next day, we got word that we had some of our troops had been pinned down. They called on us to move up to take the pressure off of them. We marched some of the day during and up to late in the night. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, we stopped to take a break. While we were taking a break, I was near the front of the column, and in the area where I was at a break, we was in one of the sunken roads, and the timber and all was near over it, so it was almost like being an unlit tunnel right where I was at. We was there for a short period of time, resting some from our marching because we were pretty well still loaded with equipment that we can come in on the beach with. When we got ready to move out, one of the guys there near me reached down to pick up his rifle. He hit the trigger on the rifle. The safety was off, shot himself in the foot. They brought up some stretcher, put them on a stretcher and some stretcher bearers. Said, well, we can't walk the rest of the night carrying someone, so they moved us into the field. So this whole battalion of people started going into the field. I was some of the first one into the field. And when the last part of the column finally come in behind, just before they entered the field, we was assaulted from the rear by a bunch of German soldiers that we had bypassed. They thought that we were some of the Germans that was trying to escape the fighting that was going on to get back to a better defensive position. So while we were taking a break, people kept walking back and forth through near us and on the blacktop. I could hear them hobnail boots popping as they walked around. A lot of our people had hobnail boots, so at the time I thought nothing about it. But anyway, we got into the field, and when the shooting started behind us, I asked my squad leader what we do. He said, we need to get some security out. So I picked a couple of rations out of my pouch, put them in my pocket, and left my pouch in the field. We went out of the field, back across the road from where I'd been taking a break, and then when it really, all hell broke loose on us, the enemy really come in with a couple of separate pile guns and started shooting up the area. Me and 6 other guys got separated from everybody else. So the next morning, decided we'd head back toward the beach to get back. We thought we had gone through the enemy line, and we didn't know who was up there. We wanted to get back where we felt secure. In a short period of time, a Jeep come up the road near me and the group, and the driver said, "Well, go on back down there." They formed the battalion back up because this was a full battalion of men that had been on the move. But another Jeep showed up, and that happened to be our division commander, General Gerhardt, our division commander. He reprimanded us there because of what had gone on. Apparently, he had already gone and seen the action, what had happened in the action in the field down there. But anyway, went back down. I said, I'll go back and get my backpack. I went back in the field, and the field was somewhat what this looked like here, except it was bodies scattered everywhere. I looked around to see what was going on. I did recognize our regimental commander, Colonel Warfield, and the H Company commander, and I cannot remember his name.
I did see their bodies there, among others. I finally got to the area where I recognized about where I was that night. So I was going to get my field pack. When I found it, my squad leader that went out with me had come back in the field for some reason. He fell across my backpack, mortally wounded. So I left my backpack there. But I did have that billfold that I found when I was getting my ration out. That I found out later that billfold was a German billfold with a Danish mark, money in it, 3 paper bills. And I know that then, since we went in the field, they had to be in the field before us. That could have been some of the ones that were walking back and forth through us. We got formed back up there and to get back and take some rest while they're rebuilding the battalion. So one that night, a night or two after that, shooting started, artillery coming in on us. And I dug in because I was in a BAR team, a three-man BAR team. I was one of the ammo bearers for that weapon. And a shell landed near me. I thought it hit that soft dirt and did not explode, but I felt it when it went by me, and I could smell it where it hit the dirt and made an odor that I recognized as something like burnt dirt. The next morning, they told us that they had our first hot meal we was going to get after going in Normandy was hot sea ration. And that's a little bit better than just opening a can of sea ration and eating cold. So we eat hot sea ration. Going back to my foxhole, people kept ganging up around my foxhole because I had told them something, and they was there looking at it. I told them, I said, this artillery shell landed near me during the night. So when I got there and found out where I had dug into the ground, about arm length drifted out from me, a 90-millimeter ACAC shell had come over my head, had gone into the ground about as deep as I had dug my foxhole. You could see the back end of that artillery shell. And so it did not explode, and that was fortunate on my part. I'm here today, not because of that, but because it did not explode on it. Thank you very much. They moved us out, and a couple of days later, a short time later, I was wounded the first time.
All right. Thank you, Bethel. So, Gunner's Mate Second Class Ed Buffman, U.S. Navy in the Pacific, was part of the crew of the USS Missouri, the battleship. And as such, he manned an anti-aircraft gun and became the gun captain of a group of about, 25 sailors in the battles of Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and then supporting the airstrikes on Japan. So, Ed, over to you. Tell us a bit about your experience.
If I go too long, just go like that. Okay, my name's Ed Buffman. I served on the great battleship, the USS Missouri. That's the Iowa-class battleship. Iowa, New Jersey, Wisconsin, and the Missouri. We cruise at 34 knots. That's like in water ski off the back of the battleship, just to give you an idea. We supported the carriers more than anything else. That was Task Force 38. Our first engagement was in Iwo Jima, where we had
our first kamikaze attack. We shot that down with no problem. Of course, you had a lot of crossfire from the other ships. Then next we went to Okinawa. That was all hell. There were 5,000 sailors killed, more than any other place. Sailors I'm talking about. Navy personnel than any other place. That was at Okinawa. We shot down 11 kamikazes at Okinawa. We got hit on the starboard side, and the plane came in low, and there was a lot of crossfire from the other ships. You couldn't be careful of it. It just came, friendly fire. During that action, the plane hit the starboard side, and the Japanese pilot was cut in half. And the machine guns, one machine gun out of the kamikaze, stuck in the barrel of our 40 millimeters. And that's a great shot of World War II. The Jap turned around, his body came onto the deck of the Missouri. So, and it was all afire, that side of the ship. I was over on the port side with my gang, and I gave the phones to another gunner's mate, third-class gunner's mate, said, take over, I'm going to go over and see what's going on the other side of the ship. You got to remember now, this is a battleship. So I cut through the center of the ship. This was all aflames. The smoke was coming out. The half of the plane, Jap plane, was laying there on fire. I went back. They said, Jesus, remember now, these guys are on the port side. They said, how was it? I said, oh, it's fine. No worry. I wasn't going to tell these 25 guys, I don't know what the hell is going to happen on the other side, because they're still attacking us on the port side. In fact, a guy named Bernard was on one of my machine guns, 20 millimeter really, and he chipped away at that plane, and actually you could see the pieces fall down. Now, that was a bomb. It would have wiped out our gang. We got bracelets made out of it the next day, So it just gives you an idea how cool these guys were. That when we first went out there, we were kids. I'm talking about to the Pacific. We were out there, I'll just throw this in, for a year. No women, no nothing. Just remember that. 1 year at sea and never touching land except maybe on the island called Mogmog. You could go in there. And Ulithi was another place that the ships pulled in. But that was for 1 year in the Pacific. That's a long time to be at a battle station. Every morning up, it was Condition 1 in the AA battery. And that was every morning you went to the battle station. But as I said, these guys were like a different world, So jumping away from that for a while, we got hit again, but it was just back on the fantail, and it hit the airplane. We had two planes on the Missouri. It hit the hoist and just dropped, and the bomb went off there, and it shook the ship. So we did get that one hit. We had, and I'll stay right on this, I don't know whether some of you would know that, like when the planes got shot down or you shot down a plane, you put a flag up on was painted up on the bridge. That's a Japanese flag, meaning that's a ship, aircraft that you shot down. We had 11 of those up there, really 11 and a half. Believe it or not, when you go to Pearl Harbor now, if you go on the Missouri, you'll see they're painted over. And that's a real crime because that's politically correct. That's what they did that for, because it hurts the tourist or whatever, but there's no more flags up on that battleship Missouri, which I already told them. Now, then jumping on the 15th, August the 15th, the Japanese surrendered. That wasn't the official surrender, but it was a surrender. So here you've got the surrendering, and you have the Third Fleet out there in the Pacific. No soldiers, no Marines, nobody. So what did they do? They took from our fleet and they trained them for a day or 2 days, sailors, swabbies, and sent them to land on the mainland of Japan. You had to be a volunteer. I volunteered, and we landed in Yokosuka Naval Base. You can check all these records. These are facts. I thought we'd have Marines there when we went into land, to protect us. We're sailors with a .45. What do we know about landing at a beach? We went in on a landing craft, and I expected the Marines to be up there protecting us. There was nobody there, So we went into the naval base, and the 6 gunner's mates and myself, we got our orders, go up into the mountain there and get rid of all the ammunition that's up there, burn the bags of that they were using for their big guns. This is a surrender. All they had, they told us, if they have a band around their arm, a white band, we're laying there, the 6 guys, 6 gunner's mates now. We're supposed to get rid of all this ammunition, which we did. Shoot them. If they come up through the alleyway there, they come up and you're looking down. If they have a band, don't shoot them. But if they have no band, shoot them. Don't even ask, shoot them. Can you imagine 6 sailors laying up there in a cave, gunner's mates, But we did it, no fear. That was it. Let me see if there's anything else. No, I can't give you anything else in my story.
Ed Buffin. Thanks, Ed. So, last but not least, Jack Caffell, U.S. Army, European Theater, a private first class in the 17th Signal Battalion, supporting First Army headquarters. So on D-Day, he's at First Army headquarters, and then continued through 5 more campaigns, and eventually receive even the Legion of Honor from the French government. So, Jack, give us a sense of your experience. It's right there.
I'm looking at my picture, and I can't believe that if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. First of all, I want to thank and honor. It's an honor for me to be among so many patriots who love their country. And you're all a bunch of great people, and I love you all. I can't compare my career to these gentlemen. They're all heroes. I was the luckiest soldier in the Army. When I was going to, when I was going to college in my senior year, I was a night telephone operator for the City Service Oil Company, and that put me, instead of the infantry, into the Signal Corps as a telephone operator. So that was very lucky for me. When I went into the Army, the draft board wouldn't give me an extension for so I could graduate college. I was going to law school at the time. But that was a good thing because I didn't ever wanted to be a lawyer. Lawyers are buried 12 feet down. You know why? Because deep down they're not so bad. Before I went in the Army, my friend said, don't put Jewish down because if you do and the Nazis capture you, they'll shoot you. My girlfriend was Italian. She used to take me to church. I had a small nose, red hair, and an Irish face. So I put Catholic. I'm in the Army in Neosho, Missouri. in 1943. In February, I came down with spinal meningitis. I lost the hearing of my left ear. I was in the hospital 56 days. The Red Cross sent for my parents. I'm dying. We lost 15 men from the epidemic. And I opened my eyes one night, and the priest was giving me last rites. But, that gave me a charmed life for the rest of my life. So I'm half Catholic and half Jewish. So I was we were in headquarters, First Army. We could be 2 miles from the front or 20 miles from the front, depending how far the people were going. When we landed in Normandy, we pitched our tents in a farm near St. Mary d'Eglise. And one night, a German plane came over and dropped 2 500-pound bombs in the field. Everybody, all the other soldiers could hear from the planes, and they ran into the hedgerows. I slept on my good ear and didn't hear a thing. And all I felt was a little bit of a rise when the bombs hit. So the next morning, I look at the sleeping bag of the soldier next to me, and his rifle was shattered by shrapnel. So there was another example of my luck. I had so I survived that, and we did pretty good. We went to all the campaigns, and I ended up in Weimar, Germany, and I was one of the first soldiers in the notorious concentration camp Buchenwald. I wasn't a liberator because the Germans had left the gates open and ran away, but I'm a witness to the Holocaust, and that was the most horrible things I ever saw in my life. Bodies lined up like cord light logs, and right outside the crematoriums where they were put to death. It was terrible. And from there we went to the Army of Occupation. We were transferred from the First Army to the Ninth Army, and then we went back to the States. After my furlough on the States, I was going to Fort Dix to go to Texas, and we were scheduled to go to Japan, to fight in Japan. But on August 14th, the war was over, and that was the last day I was going to, I had to return to Fort Dix, and we were sent down to Brownsville, Texas. In Brownsville, Texas, we were waiting for discharge, and you were discharged based on the points you had for being overseas and your time in the Army. So while we were there, we had to cut grass with mess kit knives and take long hikes to keep busy. So I didn't want to do all that. I went to the doctor, and he was from Brooklyn, New York, where I was born, and I told him I had spinal meningitis in the Army. And he said, "Oh, that's terrible, and you went through the whole war?" Well, they didn't know anything about deaf ears when I went back from the recovery of 56 days in the hospital. So he said, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Give me a letter saying I can't do anything requiring long standing and hiking." He said, "Okay." So I went back to the first sergeant, and I showed him the note, and he said, "What the hell can you do?" I said, "I can drive the captain." And he said, "His driver is leaving in a few days, and you can take his job." And that basically was the end of my career as the luckiest guy in the Army. If I find.
Ladies and gentlemen, some amazing veterans. Let's give them all a round of applause.
That's all right. Ed, talk to you later.